welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa and today we will be making a pair of moccasins. Now there will be sizes from size 5 right up to men's 10. Now these ones are men's size 9 to 10 and it is a very easy, simple project to do. I will put sizes up and this edited version of how the sizes change in the description below, and hopefully I'll put them up in the sides here when we get to those different positions. Alright, so what will we need for this project? The yarn that we will be using is Lemire. This one is Retweed, or you can also use Reborn. Very similar. The only difference is the Retweed has all these little flecks of colour through it. You can use any yarn you like for this. If you want a super soft slipper, then use a lovely soft fluffy yarn. However, I prefer these moccasins to be quite stiff. So what I do is I put 2 of these balls together. So I will have 2 strands, and that makes, so I've done one already. We're going to do it in this colour. Sorry, it doesn't come with the colour names on these balls. I believe it comes with a number. So this one is L122. And they have so many colours in this. It's ridiculous, the amount of colours. So pick a colour. I've picked this colour, so hopefully it is easy for you to see when we make it. But you can see here that this is quite a stiff slipper or moccasin. So when I finish, it's nice and stiff and it forms nicely around the foot, and this is why I use 2 strands together. So what I would recommend is that you find a yarn out there. If you want a more fitting moccasin, get a yarn that's really stiff, and it'll work out really nice like this. So I didn't have a fat enough yarn that I wanted to use, so that's the other trick, is make it nice and fat. So that's why I use 2 strands of this yarn. So besides this yarn, we will also be using our 7mm hook. So I want a 7. You could go up in size if you've got a thicker yarn, but it will change the measurements and the sizing. So if you can, try and stick with a size 7 hook to follow along in this tutorial. If you do decide that you need to change it up, then you will need to have a tape measure. You will also need your trusty scissors, 2 stitch markers, and a needle. There is only one end to sew in for this moccasin. So it is really easy and quick, and as you saw, I've already done one. So let's get the other one made. Let's get this project started. Before we continue, I just want to do a big shout out to Linda, who bought me a coffee, saying thank you for doing a vid on my questions. If you have any questions you would like me to do a video on, I'm more than happy to do so. And thank you so much, Linda, for the coffee. If you enjoy my content and want to support my channel, you can buy me a coffee at the link in the description below. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world to me. Before we go any further, I did forget to mention that you will need, if you're doing what I'm doing, we're blending these 2 balls together, you will need 2 balls only and 185 meters. These are 100-gram balls, but you only need 185 meters of yarn, and that is for a 7mm hook to join these 2 balls together. So once you've found your 2 ends, do a slip knot. Put that on the end of the hook, Now you don't need a long tail or anything. You can actually do a shorter tail than what I've done there. And this is for all slipper sizes or moccasin sizes. You are going to be chaining 10. So there's my 10, and that is the foot width. Now, if you're looking at it and you think, wow, that looks really small, I don't know about that. Yarn does stretch, but if you have someone who has a super wide foot, just measure their foot or keep going as many stitches as are required to be the width of their foot. So feel free to constantly measure. But what I've found so far doing this, and I've made many of these moccasins for my customers, that this is ideal because the yarn does stretch and it forms quite nicely around them. But admittedly, I haven't had any really wide feet going into these moccasins. So if you're concerned, measure this up. Otherwise, these measurements are for all size feet, and it works really, really well. And what size we are doing today, following along with me today, is the 7 to 8 size moccasin. And the sizings for the other size, I will jot up what you need along the side over the edges here for the other sizes. Now that you have your 10 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, miss that stitch just there and you're going into the second stitch. Don't go into the V here. Make sure you turn it over to the back and you will be working in the lumps on the back. You will see why this is important when we get to the next stage. But if you find that is difficult, then do go in through the V at the front. But I recommend turn it over and go into the lumps on the back. So the first stitch you will be doing, we're going to be doing griddle stitch, which will make this lovely rough texture on the bottom, which gives you some grip. So this is griddle stitch. So how we do griddle stitch? Again, missing that first stitch there, going into the next stitch on the back in that loop there. We are going straight in with our hook, grab the yarn, pull it through, and then grab the yarn and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. That is a single crochet. In the next one, we're going to do a double crochet. So yarn over, into the loop there, grab a yarn, pull it through. Now grab your yarn and pull through the first 2 loops on the hook, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops on the hook, and that's your double crochet. So the next one is a single crochet, so hook straight in to that loop, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, going into that next loop there, so straight into that loop, grab a yarn, pull it through, grab a yarn, pull through the first 2 loops, and then grab a yarn and pull through the next 2 loops. Next one, straight into the loop, we're doing the single crochet, and then yarn over for the next one. We're going straight into the back, grab a yarn, pull it through, and then you're going 1, 2. So you can see the pattern here. We are doing a single crochet and then a double crochet. And the last stitch should be a single crochet. Now you'll always start and finish your griddle stitch with a single crochet. So it doesn't look much for now, but row 2, chain 1, turn your work. As I said before, you always start with a single crochet, then you're doing your double, then your single, then your double, so on and so forth. Now, you always do your single on top of a single and a double on top of a double. Now it's really easy to tell a single. Single looks like just a plain V. And your double, that's like a little cap. There's a lot more going on there. So single, double, single, double. And then the single's always at the end. So if you got caught out and you had to put it down and you're like, oh, where did I get up to? Just pull it open like that and you'll go, ah, that's a single and there's my double. So my next one is a single followed by the double. Single, double, single. Chain one, turn your work and repeat. Single, double, single, double, single, double, single, double, single. So we have done 3 rows already, and we need to do, for the size 7 to 8, we are doing 18 rows. So chain 1, turn your work, and keep going for 18 rows in total for the size 7 to 8. Okay, so we have finished doing our 18 rows of our base there. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. All right, so now that we have finished the foot, the sole, what we're going to do now is we're now doing this upper edge bit here. Okay, so we've just done that, and now we're going to do this bit here. All right, so what you need to do is at the end of that row, chain 1. Then what we're doing is going to put a stitch at the top of each one of these rows. Now, it is a single crochet you will be putting into each row. So just put your hook straight in, grab your yarn, pull it through, and grab your yarn and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. You'll see the next hole here, and then there's a hole there, and a hole there, and a hole there, and a hole there. So it's quite easy to find where the top of the rows are to put a stitch. So straight into that next hole, grab your yarn, pull it through, and then grab your yarn and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. Now at this point, get one of your stitch markers and put it into the corner of that first stitch there. And keep going around creating your stitches. So there's one there, one there, and there, and there. So you can see starting to make a stitch in every row. So keep doing that down the side here. Okay, when you get to the corner, there's a stitch there. And then you're going to turn and you'll see you're at the top of the first row, your chain row. And this is why I've said do your stitches at the top. It makes it a lot easier to see where these stitches are here to put your stitch into. Hope that makes sense. So straight into that stitch there, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn and pull through the loop on the hook. Have a look where the next stitch is there, and then straight into that stitch there, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab your yarn, pull through the 2 loops on the hook, and keep doing that. You'll find the one that you put the single crochet in can be a little bit harder to get your hook into. Work it in, there we go. Yeah, and keep doing that to the end Now we're on the last stitch here on this side, so put that in there, and then we're back down the long side and we're just repeating the same thing along here, putting a stitch in every one of the top of the rows. Now this is where your tail is as well, so work over your tail so you don't have to sew this in later. So find where the top of the row is, which is right there, and I've got my tail lined up, so I work over it and just continue doing your single crochets along the edge. Do remember to catch both yarns. It's annoying when you don't. And continue down until you get to the end of this side. Okay, so we've done down this other long side, and now we're doing the last side, which is the top that we started with. So let's go into those stitches and just one single crochet in the top of each one of those stitches, and then the last stitch goes into here, and that is the first row done. All right, so your first row is finished, and you can see it's starting to tuck in now, which is great, which is what you want. And we need to do 5 rows in total. So we've done row number 1 and we're on to row number 2. Now row number 2, you start by going straight into that first stitch you created of this row. So we're working in the round and we just keep going around. That's why we need the stitch marker here, so we know exactly where our row starts. So go straight into that stitch there. Try not to catch your stitch marker. And just keep working your stitches. Oh, single crochet. Just keep working your stitches all the way around. So you have finished 5 rows in total, just working around and around and around until you have 5 rows. Now how many stitches you do doesn't matter. How many you create doesn't matter. But take a note of it and put it down somewhere, so when you come to your second moccasin, you have exactly the same amount, because you don't want your moccasins to be different sizes. Okay, so when you're getting to the end of your 5th row, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm coming to the end of this 5th row, and I want to make sure that I'm ending just up above the stitch marker. So there's the stitch marker there. I want to go up, so I want to end here. So I've just got a couple more stitches to do, 3 it looks like. So 1, 2, 3. Alright, so if I go up like that, so have a little look, and it's all by eye. If you feel like you need to do another stitch, do, but there is a reason why it's going to be like that. So I also go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that looks about right. Now the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm going to start this panel here, the top, and so you want to make it quite central looking. So if you hold it like so and you see where your stitch marker is there, make it central looking. You're going to do 7 stitches backwards and forwards here, so count 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Put your thumb there and have a look, and yeah, that looks quite central to me, so I'm going to stop there. Now 5 rows is the total that you need for any size slipper that you're doing. However, if you feel that you have a foot that is a lot higher, then just keep doing more rows. I haven't found anybody who needs that to be, so that's the finished one there, who needs that to be higher. But if you feel that it does, keep going with the rows. There is no hard and fast rule to this, just keep going. Alright, so now that we've done this, have it so that your slipper is going like that. If you turn it the other way, it's going to come in like that. Now, there's no problem with doing either way. So I'll show you. With the grey slippers, you can see how they're coming in like that. They're coming in. Whereas this slipper is going out. So can you see the difference? So that's the slipper going in, and that's having it when you turn it inside out, and it's going in like so. And then when you do it the other way, like that, it turns out like this, which is opposite to that. So whatever you end up doing, make sure you do the same thing for your other slipper. All right, so I've got it out, which is the correct way to match my other slipper that I've already done. And now we are going to be working 7 stitches backwards and forwards 13 times for this size 7 to 8. So chain 1, turn your work, and once again we're still doing single crochet. So you go 1, 2, grab your stitch marker now and put it in here to mark your first stitch. Sorry, your first row. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're doing 7 single crochets. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this is the same amount no matter what size moccasin you're doing. However, if you have made this wider on the sole, whatever you increase this by, so if you increased it by 2 stitches, 1 stitch, whatever you increase the sole by, increase this the same amount of stitches. All right, so that's row 1, chain 1, turn your work, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, chain 1, turn your work, and keep going. We have finished those 13 rows. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And it will go down like that. So the last thing we need to do is join this to this. And we're just going to crochet this to this. So take out your stitch marker. And as we've done 13 rows, we want to go up 13 stitches and then place a stitch marker. So you can see the first stitch here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So I place my stitch marker next to the 13th stitch, so I know I need to work into that stitch, and then the stitch marker's out of the way. Then turn it around and do the same for the other side. So there's my first available stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And I'm going to put the stitch marker into the next stitch. Now when you come to making your second slipper, make sure the amount of stitches around here match the amount of stitches around here, because you want that to be the same. So I have 20 stitches around here, so I want to make sure I have 20 stitches around here. So the stitch marker is number 1, and from here to here I have 20 stitches, so that's great. All right, so flip your top over. And this is probably the most difficult part of the whole moccasin. And you do this exactly the same for every moccasin. Okay, so get your hook back in, go to the first stitch here, place your hook into that stitch, and your hook, get the stitch marker out of the way, hold on a minute, go away, hook in here, and hook straight back into the first stitch. Okay, can you see that? And we're doing single crochets. So grab your yarn and pull it through, and then grab your yarn and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. That is the hardest part is starting it. Then going into the first stitch here and the first hole of the row there. So we put our hook into the next stitch there, and you can see the hole here of the row, put your hook in there. Grab your yarn, pull it through, and grab your yarn and pull through the 2 loops on the hook. Go to your next stitch and then the next hole that you haven't worked. So we can see we've worked this one. We're going into this one here. It does get easier as you go around. So do another single crochet, go into your next one, your next hole, single crochet, your next one, and your next hole. Next. Sometimes they line up perfectly and you just put it straight in. There we go. Next one, next hole. Next stitch, next hole. Okay, when you come to the edge here, you can see it looks a bit, just look next stitch along and the next hole, and that's that edge done. So you can see what it looks like on the top and then to the side, and it gives that really nice moccasin look. Alright, so this is the tricky part. What I do is I now fold. We're going to put stitches along here so we can have this nice edge here. So what I do is I fold. Here's the other side. There's that stitch there. So I'm folding along here. And what I'm wanting to do is place stitches along here because that lines up nice with this bit here. So once you've done that, find the next hole, which will be here. Sometimes it can be a little tricky. So put your hook into the bend there and to the next available hole up the top. And then continue with your single crochets. Now the first one might be the trickiest, and then after that just keep lining it up. And just use your judgment and your eye to what you think looks good. So you're going next one and up, there we go. And then next one and up. And then next one and up. All right, so that has done the edge there. And now what we're going to do is in this next stitch here, we are going to put it in the next hole. Now sometimes that will mean that it depends on how it's all worked out. but as you work along, when you get to the end, it should line up. But if it doesn't, you might have to undo it and shift up to this hole here to make this line up. So just play around with it to get it to line up. So, but don't shift your stitch markers, because it's okay for the first one, but what you want it to match your second slipper. So you need to make sure that your last stitch is here. Okay, so continue doing. So we're going into the next stitch and the next hole. Next stitch and next hole. Alright, I've got the opposite problem here. So what I find is that my last stitch is going in here. Alright, and then I've got two stitches. I've got too many stitches. So I'm going to have to undo this, and I'm going to have to adjust so this stitch gets taken up. So what I'll do is I'll undo and I'll move this around up here, and then I'll redo it so that it matches up to there, because I need to have this so that it matches up to be the same size as this. Okay, so I've made the adjustment and now we line up. There we go. So there's my last stitch there, the one before the stitch marker. So go straight into there and then go into the corner here, right there. Do your last single crochet. And that is your slipper, your moccasin done. So let's snip off the end, pull it through, and then grab, you can take the stitch markers out now, grab the yarn needle, and I just sew in to the corner on the side here. Now make it as neat and as flat as you possibly can, because you don't want it rubbing. Now it can be a little tough and awkward because you've made it quite tight using that thicker yarn. Alright. And then when you're happy with that, just snip it off. And there are your moccasins. And there are your moccasins. So your perfectly formed pair. So once you finish your first one, do your second one using the same measurements that you did beforehand, and enjoy. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Now, if you haven't seen my other tutorial on this where I do a prettier edge around here, check this out. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I hope your moccasins turn out just as beautiful and as comfy. please like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And if you haven't seen any of my other tutorials, go and check out everything else that I have on my channel. Thank you again, everybody, and enjoy, and happy moccasing. Bye, everyone!